8. Sure signs you have an evil person in your life. Advice from old people. Life teaches us many lessons, some through joy and others through hardship. By the time you reach your 60s and beyond, you've seen enough of human nature to know that not everyone has good intentions. Some people bring warmth, trust, and wisdom into your life, while others bring only deception, manipulation, and harm. The problem is, evil rarely announces itself. It hides behind charm, false kindness, and subtle manipulation. If you're not careful, you can allow a toxic person into your life without realizing it until the damage is done. But wisdom comes with age, and the older we get, the more we recognize patterns in people's behavior. If you know what to look for, you can protect yourself from those who seek to take advantage of your kindness, your generosity, or even your loneliness. Here are 8 sure signs you have an evil person in your life and what you should do about it. 1. They make you doubt your own reality. There is no cruelty more insidious than making someone doubt their own mind. Evil people don't just lie. They distort the truth so convincingly that you start questioning your own perceptions, your own memory, even your own sanity. This isn't mere dishonesty. This is a calculated attack on your ability to trust yourself. At first, it seems harmless. They correct you when you remember things differently. They insist you misunderstood their words even when you're certain you heard them correctly. They claim you're exaggerating when you call out something hurtful they did. And over time, you begin to wonder, am I really overreacting? Did I actually misremember? Maybe I am the problem. This is gaslighting in its most dangerous form. It's not just about deception, it's about control. When someone makes you doubt your own reality, they gain power over you. The more uncertain you become, the more you turn to them for clarity, believing they must have a better grip on reality than you do. It's a slow erosion of your confidence, your independence, and eventually your ability to stand up for yourself. And this is precisely their goal. Evil people don't just want to manipulate. They want you to surrender your sense of truth to them. Because once you stop trusting your own instincts, you become defenseless. They can rewrite history, twist your words, and justify their behavior, all while making you believe that you are the one at fault. But here's what wisdom teaches us. Your instincts are not the enemy. If something feels wrong, trust that feeling. If someone's words don't match their actions, believe what you see, not what you're told. The moment you recognize that someone is making you doubt your reality, you must reclaim your power. Distance yourself. Protect your mind. Because a person who tries to make you question your own truth is not just untrustworthy, they are dangerous. And in this stage of life, you have no time for such games. 2. They enjoy your suffering. There is something deeply unsettling about a person who finds satisfaction in the suffering of others. You might not notice it at first because they won't openly celebrate your pain. Instead, their pleasure hides beneath a mask of concern, a thin veil of indifference, or a subtle smirk when things go wrong for you. But if you pay attention, you'll see the truth. They don't want you to rise. In fact, they are more comfortable when you are struggling because it makes them feel superior. A good person feels empathy when you are hurting. They offer support, a listening ear, or even just a kind word. But an evil person sees your misfortune as an opportunity. If you fail at something, they remind you of how foolish it was to try in the first place. If you go through heartbreak, they talk about how they saw it coming. If you experience a setback, they act as though it was inevitable, as if your pain is simply the natural consequence of your choices. They disguise their enjoyment as wisdom, as if they are simply pointing out the lessons you should be learning. But beneath their words is something far more toxic, a deep sense of satisfaction that they are not the only one struggling. You'll notice that when things are going well for you, They seem distant, uninterested, or even annoyed. But when something bad happens, suddenly they are engaged, invested, even eager to talk. This is because your suffering gives them something they crave: control. When you are weak, they get to feel strong. When you are lost, they get to play the role of the wise observer. They will never admit it, but your pain makes them feel better about themselves. These people are dangerous, not because they openly harm you, but because they do nothing to lift you up. A true friend, a real supporter, will share in your joys and stand by you in your struggles. They will not use your pain to feed their own ego. If someone in your life consistently seems more engaged when you are suffering than when you are thriving, take a step back and ask yourself why they are in your life at all. Because you deserve people who want to see you succeed, not those who secretly hope for your downfall. 3. They use guilt to control you. Guilt is one of the most powerful weapons an evil person can wield. Unlike anger, which is direct and often met with resistance, guilt seeps in quietly, making you question yourself. It doesn't demand, it persuades. It doesn't attack, it weakens. And once it takes hold, it can keep you bound to a toxic person far longer than you ever intended. A manipulator understands this deeply. They know that if they can make you feel guilty, they can control you without ever raising their voice or making an outright demand. Instead, they plant seeds of doubt, always positioning themselves as the victim. They will remind you of all they've done for you, as if love and kindness are debts you can never fully repay. They will act wounded when you set boundaries, making you feel selfish for wanting space. And when you say no, they won't argue. They'll just let you sit with the discomfort of having disappointed them. You may find yourself explaining your choices, justifying your actions, trying to prove that you're not a bad person. And that is exactly what they want. The more you feel the need to prove your goodness, the easier you are to manipulate. They twist your empathy into a chain, binding you to them with an unspoken rule. Your job is to make them happy, even at the cost of your own well-being. What makes this so dangerous is that it happens so gradually. You don't realize how much of your life has become about avoiding their disappointment until one day you look back and see how many times you've sacrificed your own needs just to keep the peace. The truth is, a good person never makes you feel guilty for protecting your own well-being. Love should not come with a price tag of endless obligation. If someone in your life constantly makes you feel guilty for having your own needs, for saying no, for living your life in a way that suits you, then you must recognize it for what it is: control disguised as concern. The hardest but most necessary lesson is this: you are not responsible for managing someone else's happiness at the expense of your own. You do not owe endless sacrifice to someone who refuses to respect your boundaries. And no matter how much guilt they try to place on you, remember that loving someone does not mean losing yourself. The moment you realize that, you take back the power they tried so hard to steal. 4. They sabotage your happiness. Evil people are not always obvious in their cruelty. Some don't attack you outright or treat you with blatant malice. Instead, they work in the shadows, quietly undermining your happiness in ways that are subtle but deeply destructive. They may smile in your presence, but beneath that smile is resentment, jealousy, or a desire to see you diminished. Your success, your joy, your peace, these things make them uncomfortable because they remind them of everything they lack within themselves. And so, rather than improving their own life, they choose to tear yours down. At first, you may not even notice it. Perhaps every time you share good news, they find a way to dismiss it or downplay it. You get excited about something, and instead of encouragement, they respond with a warning. Don't get your hopes up too high. Or, that sounds risky. I wouldn't count on it. Their words seem like concern, but their intention is clear: to make you doubt yourself, to plant fear where there should be confidence. Then there are the moments when they subtly erode your achievements. If you accomplish something significant, they remind you that others have done better. If you work hard to improve yourself, they question why you're even bothering at your age. If you find happiness in a new relationship, a hobby, or a personal goal, they inject negativity, making you second guess your choices. It is never outright sabotage, never an obvious attack, but always a slow, steady effort to make sure you never feel too secure, too proud, or too content. But the most dangerous sabotage is emotional. They will find ways to create doubt, to make you believe that you don't deserve happiness, or worse, that happiness itself is fleeting and pointless. They make sure you never feel too comfortable, never feel too sure of yourself, because when you are confident, you are harder to control. The truth is, a person who truly cares for you will celebrate your happiness, not resent it. They will lift you up rather than find ways to pull you down. If someone in your life constantly finds ways to chip away at your joy, no matter how subtle, you must recognize the truth. They are not your friend, they are your enemy. And you cannot allow your happiness to be at the mercy of someone who refuses to find their own. 5. They never take responsibility. One of the clearest signs of an evil person is their complete inability to take responsibility for anything that goes wrong. No matter what happens, no matter how obvious their role in the situation, it is never their fault. They will twist reality, rewrite history, and manipulate those around them just to avoid admitting they were wrong. And in doing so, they create chaos. Chaos that others are left to clean up while they walk away without consequence. At first, it may seem like a harmless flaw, just a person who struggles with accountability. But as time goes on, you begin to realize that this is not simply a bad habit. It is a carefully crafted way of living. They blame their past for their present failures, other people for their mistakes, and circumstances for their lack of progress. And when confronted, they do not reflect or take responsibility. Instead, they become defensive, angry, or worse, they turn the blame onto you. If you bring up something they have done wrong, they will not apologize. Instead, they will make you feel like the problem. They will accuse you of being too sensitive, too demanding, or too unreasonable. If they break a promise, they will blame you for expecting too much. If they hurt you, they will insist that you misunderstood. And if you finally stand up for yourself, they will play the victim, acting as if you have wronged them. This refusal to accept responsibility is not just frustrating, it is deeply dangerous. A person who cannot acknowledge their mistakes cannot grow. A person who refuses to admit wrongdoing cannot change. And a person who is always looking for someone else to blame will eventually place that blame on you. If you spend enough time around them, you will find yourself constantly apologizing, constantly explaining, constantly trying to prove that you are not the villain they have made you out to be. But the truth is simple. You cannot reason with someone who refuses to see reason. You cannot fix a person who refuses to acknowledge they are broken. And you cannot allow yourself to carry the weight of someone else's failures. At this stage in life, you deserve relationships built on honesty and accountability. If someone in your life never takes responsibility for their actions, if they always find a way to make themselves the victim, then you must understand that they will never change. And the longer you allow them to stay in your life, the more they will drag you down with them. 6. They drain your energy like a parasite. There are people in this world who take more than they give, who leave you feeling exhausted rather than uplifted, who feed off your kindness, your time, and your emotional strength like parasites. They don't necessarily yell, threaten, or abuse outright, but they wear you down slowly, bit by bit, until you feel like a shell of the person you once were. These people do not enter your life to share in its joys or offer true companionship. They come to take, to drain, to use. And by the time you realize what's happening, they've already depleted you. At first, they may seem like someone who simply needs help, someone who is always struggling, always in some kind of crisis, always needing you to step in and save them. They rely on your good nature, knowing you will answer the phone when they call, listen when they need to vent, and offer solutions when they create problems for themselves. But what you will start to notice is that their life is always in turmoil, and no matter how much you give, it is never enough. The problems never get solved because they do not want solutions. They want attention, validation, and someone to carry their burdens for them. And what do you get in return? Nothing. When you are the one struggling, when you need support, when you are going through something difficult, they are nowhere to be found. They are too busy, too preoccupied, or worse, they make your problems about them, turning the conversation back to their own struggles as if your suffering is an inconvenience. There is no balance in the relationship, no mutual care, no real friendship. You are not a person to them. You are a source of energy, an emotional well they can keep drawing from without ever refilling. The most dangerous part is that this exhaustion doesn't happen all at once. It is slow, gradual. One day you wake up and realize you feel tired before you even see them. Their name on your phone screen makes you sigh instead of smile. You start to feel drained just by thinking about them. That is your body, your mind, and your spirit telling you the truth. This person is not good for you. A healthy relationship, whether it is a friendship, family bond, or romantic connection, should add to your life, not take away from it. If someone constantly depletes you, if you always feel worse after spending time with them, then you must accept the truth. They are not a friend. They are a burden you are no longer required to carry. 7. They isolate you from others. A truly dangerous person does not just manipulate you directly, they work to control the world around you. They know that as long as you have strong relationships, outside perspectives, and people who truly care about you, their influence over you remains limited. So they begin to isolate you little by little, making sure that over time, they become your only source of connection, validation, and truth. By the time you realize what has happened, you have already been cut off from the very people who could have saved you. It never starts as an obvious command. Instead, it begins with subtle comments meant to plant doubt. They might criticize your friends or family, making you feel as though the people closest to you don't truly support you. I don't think they really understand you, they'll say, or it's strange how they only seem to be around when it's convenient for them. They won't tell you to stop seeing your loved ones outright. That would be too obvious. Instead, they will make you feel uneasy about your relationships, suspicious of the people you once trusted. Then they create situations where spending time with others feels like a betrayal. If you go out with a friend, they sulk or act distant. If you call a family member for advice, they accuse you of not valuing their opinion. Slowly, spending time with others becomes more exhausting than it is worth. Guilt, the tension, the emotional exhaustion, eventually you find yourself avoiding people, not because you want to, but because it is easier than dealing with the backlash. This is not love. This is not friendship. This is control. A good person will encourage you to have strong, supportive relationships. They will be happy when you are surrounded by people who care about you. But a manipulator, an evil person, sees your connections as a threat to their power. The weaker your relationships become, the stronger their hold over you grows. The most dangerous thing is that isolation doesn't just make you lonely. It makes you easier to manipulate. Without outside voices to remind you of reality, you start to see the world the way they want you to see it. Their opinions become your opinions. Their version of the truth becomes the only truth you know. This is why isolation is one of the most effective tools of control. But here's what you must remember. The people who love you will never demand that you choose between them and others. They will never make you feel guilty for maintaining strong friendships and family bonds. If someone in your life is slowly pulling you away from those who care about you, recognize it for what it is, an attempt to control you. And the only way to break free is to reconnect with the people who see you clearly, who want the best for you, and who will remind you of the person you were before manipulation took hold. 8. They make you feel small, so they can feel big. There are people in this world who cannot stand to see others grow, succeed, or feel confident. Instead of improving themselves, they choose to tear others down. They do this not because they are strong, but because deep down they are weak. They need to diminish others to feel important, to push people down so they can stand taller. Their power is not real power, it is stolen from those they belittle. At first, their words may seem harmless, a small criticism here, a teasing remark there. But over time, you begin to notice a pattern. Every time you feel good about yourself, they find a way to take that feeling away. If you share an accomplishment, they dismiss it as unimportant. If you make a decision for yourself, they question it, making you second guess whether you even know what you are doing. If you try something new, they remind you of all the ways you could fail. And if you ever stand up for yourself, they make you feel as though you are being too sensitive, too proud, too difficult. This is not love. This is not friendship. This is a person who cannot tolerate your strength, so they chip away at it piece by piece. And the longer you let them do it, the smaller you become. You start hesitating before speaking, afraid of being judged. You stop sharing your joys, knowing they will find a way to ruin them. You stop trusting yourself, believing that maybe they are right, that you are not as capable, as wise, or as strong as you once thought. But here's the truth. No one who truly cares about you will make you feel small. A good person will challenge you, but they will do it in a way that helps you grow, not in a way that makes you shrink. They will celebrate your successes, not resent them. They will lift you up when you doubt yourself, not push you further down. If someone in your life constantly makes you feel like you are not enough, you must ask yourself why you continue to allow them space in your world. There is no kindness in staying small just to make someone else feel bigger. You are not here to be diminished. You are here to live fully, to stand tall, to take up space. The moment you realize that, you take back the power they spent so much time trying to steal. Final thought. Protect yourself before it's too late. There comes a time in life when you can no longer afford to ignore the truth about the people around you. When you are young, you may excuse bad behavior, believing people will change. You may tolerate mistreatment, thinking that patience and understanding will fix what is broken. You may even convince yourself that enduring the presence of toxic individuals is a sign of strength. But as the years pass, as wisdom deepens and priorities shift, you realize something far more important. Protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. By now, you have lived enough life to recognize patterns. You have seen the difference between people who genuinely care and those who only pretend to. You have experienced what it feels like to be lifted up by good people and torn down by those who only take. And if you are being honest with yourself, you know when someone in your life does not belong there. The question is, what will you do about it? Evil does not always appear in obvious ways. It does not come dressed in darkness or announce itself with cruelty. More often, it is subtle, slow moving, and disguised in familiarity. It wears the face of a friend, a family member, even a trusted companion. It does not need to harm you physically to wound you deeply. Instead, it chips away at your confidence, your joy, your sense of self worth. It twists reality, drains your energy, isolates you from others, and makes you feel small so that someone else can feel big. And the longer you allow it to remain, the more damage it will do. But here's what you must remember: you are not powerless. You do not owe your time, your kindness, or your loyalty to people who do not respect you. You do not have to explain yourself to those who refuse to listen. You do not have to justify your need for peace, nor should you feel guilty for choosing to walk away from those who have proven themselves to be harmful. The truth is, life is too short to be spent in the company of those who diminish you. At this stage, every moment is precious. Every conversation, every interaction, every relationship should add something to your life, not take away from it. You should be surrounded by people who celebrate your presence, who encourage your growth, who bring warmth and wisdom rather than deceit and destruction. And if someone in your life does not meet that standard, if their presence leaves you drained rather than fulfilled, then you have a choice to make. Letting go is not always easy. Some relationships have deep roots, tied to history, shared experiences, or even a sense of obligation. But no bond, no matter how old or familiar, is worth sacrificing your well being. You deserve peace. You deserve to be surrounded by people who see your worth and reflect it back to you. And the moment you decide to protect yourself, to set boundaries, to walk away from those who have shown you who they truly are, you will find something remarkable happens. Your world becomes lighter. Your mind becomes clearer. Your heart, once burdened by the weight of toxic connections, begins to heal. And in that healing, you rediscover what it means to truly live, not in the shadows of manipulation, not under the weight of constant doubt, but in the light of freedom, clarity, and self respect. So trust yourself. Trust what you see, what you feel, and what experience has already taught you. Because at this point in life, you have earned the right to choose peace over chaos, wisdom over deception, and truth over the comforting lies that keep you bound to the wrong people. And once you make that choice, there is no going back, only forward toward the life you deserve. These lessons are meant to inspire you to live fully and authentically. Now, I'd love to hear from you. Take a moment to reflect and share one thing you've learned and plan to apply in your own life. Let's support each other on this journey toward embracing these truths. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment with 1. If not, feel free to comment with 0. Your feedback means a lot to us. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Thank you for watching, and here's to living life on your own terms.